Welcome to the Heart of Herbs Herbal School podcast, where we explore the fascinating world of herbal medicine and natural healing. I'm your host, Demetria Clark, and I'm thrilled to be your guide on this journey of discovery. At Heart of Herbs Herbal School, we're passionate about empowering individuals to harness the power of plants for health and wellness. Through our podcast, we'll dive into topics ranging from herbal materia medicas, clinical herbalism, sharing insights, interviews, tips, and wisdom to inspire and educate our listeners. Hi, this is Demetria Clark, the director of Heart of Herbs Herbal School, and today we're talking to Christy Fisher on our Heart of Herbal School podcast and Heart of Herbs Herbal School podcast. I don't even know my own name here, people. But the reality is we're just here to have a good time. We're here to meet an herbalist. I want to really dive deep and learn all about what this fabulous herbalist is doing in their community and online. So, Christy, I would love to just invite you to, share whatever you feel comfortable sharing about yourself, your work, and your mission as an herbalist.
Hi. Well, I really got into herbs as a very small child on my grandparents' farm, believe it or not.
I believe it. I love that.
I have memories of being 3 or 4 in the, my grandpa did, he raised cattle. And in those pastures, there was just tons of these beautiful little plants. And I remember just being a little kid when my dad and him were, tending to the cattle and things and just kind of sitting out there because I'd go with them. And I would eat the weeds just sitting out there, And so I kind of, at a very small age, my mom was always saying, don't let her eat those. Don't let her eat those. And my grandpa she's fine. She knows what she's doing. And I did. And as I got older, I realized what I was eating were actually medicinal plants. And, my grandma used to take me on walks and we would pick blackberries. And I remember her picking the leaves and asking, why are you picking the leaves? What are you going to do with those? I'm going to make some tea for myself. You don't worry about me. You just pick those berries. But it stuck with me. And, as I grew, I really found a lot of really neat people that came into my life that, showed me things, were kind of like mentors and I didn't even know that they were. They just kind of came in and out of my life for a season. Excuse me, I'm clearing my throat because I'm drowning on mucus here.
Hey, what are we going to do, right? It's that time of year. I love that. I feel like for myself, and you may feel this way too, that sometimes the path of an herbalist is chosen by the world around us, like the people that come into our life. It's almost like one of those preordained professions where people are going to either share with you the knowledge they have about plants or not. And if you're lucky, they share with you. And I mean, I lived all over the United States and people were always sharing stuff with me, even as a little kid. And it sounds to me like you had family who just really believed in you and really felt the need to allow you to explore and create. And, and then you had these people in your life that were doing that too. Am I reading it right? I mean, was that your experience? It's like your path was kind of like here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, really, it was a blessing. I mean, I really feel, I think God gives us all gifts. And I think that one of the gifts he gave me was just the innate knowing of the plants. I've always had a green thumb, always, just made things, even as a teenager, my sister and I made rose water, and was always just doing little things like that, salves and growing herbs and doing things with them. But, I didn't ever really think to do it as a profession until, people were asking me, hey, I need your help. Hey, what can I do here? Oh, okay. And I've always wanted to help people. I've always been very empathetic. And if somebody was suffering somehow. Okay, here, let me help you with this. Or, oh, you got a cold? Let me make some of this ginger root and lemon and honey, and let's put some cayenne pepper in there for an expectorant. Come on, here you go. You'll feel better. you know, I like taking care of people. And
So your community also was part of this path, obviously, because they're
absolutely.
asking you for help before maybe. At least I felt like I'm not ready for this yet. And people were like,
Yeah.
yeah, well, too bad. I need your help. You're like, oh,
Right.
shoot. Like, okay. I'm
Right.
like, I'm only a kid here. I'm very young. Like, what's going on? And so it sounds
right.
like you had a similar experience. Like people wanted you before maybe, because I don't think
Yes.
anybody's ever ready. You have to just jump in.
No, and it even
There's more to
started. I mean,
learn.
speaking of being a kid, like what you're saying, people would come to me too and kind of pull me aside and tell me the skeletons in their closet, you know? And I'm a
Did you
kid. I'm
grow
like,
up feeling like you were the only adult in the room a lot of the times?
yes, I
Me too.
did. And I felt like I was an alien. Like, I'm like, you're on another planet. And I don't, I just felt like, okay, I'm different. I never felt quite like I fit in, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I
So,
never felt like I was, the fourth grader in fourth grade. Like
right.
I was always like, I always had and, the very practical, rational mind. So I think like, I think I understand what you're saying. Like, I always joke I was the only adult in the room. Like even with my own mom, I'm like, I was the only
hmm
adult in the room. She's like, yeah, kind of.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, very much so with
yeah.
kids. I
And I
didn't
think
fit in.
healers find their that they're kind of like that, you know what I mean?
hmm
They look at things differently.
I fit more in with the adults. When I was 15, my best friend was 33 years old.
I was like that too, or giving like we had a very large family, so someone would be like, "Oh, I'm going through a breakup," and I'm like, "I'm in fourth grade. Why are you telling me this? But
Right.
this is what I think you should do anyways."
Exactly.
And I'm like, now as an adult, I mean, I'm almost 50, and I'm like, why aren't people listening to me? Like,
But you
it's
probably
like,
gave sound advice. I mean, you probably did. You probably gave them really good sound advice and it probably helped them out.
well, who knows? It gives me something to chuckle about now. But
Yeah,
I feel
absolutely.
like you kind of had those similar experiences, just the way that you were saying it. I was like, I think I know who this person is.
Yeah.
We need an
Yep.
adult retreat.
Yeah, I did, I really did. And things were kind of heavy too. I remember like when I was 15, people would really kind of tell me some very heavy stuff and I didn't quite know what to do with it, but I knew I had to sit there and listen and be present. And
Yeah.
I knew I had to offer comfort. And it was a very strange feeling that came over me. Even though I was uncomfortable, I did kind of stand there. You know what I mean? That was like the
Yeah.
first time that it got really somebody very deeply sharing some of their hurts and their wounds that they had to deal with through life. But I saw with this kid's face after he told me, and I didn't run. I didn't, do anything. I just gave him a hug. I told him that he was okay and that did not affect who he was as a person. And the relief that he got from that was so healing, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that even being present with people through, emotional stuff is all a part of it, not just the herbs. There's more to it. Things that can kind of keep your body sick and unwell are
Yeah.
these deep things that we just kind of bury and we just kind of, soldier on. But when
Yeah.
we can give someone a safe space to be able to talk about those things and face them and kind of hold their hand and walk through it with them and just kind of say like, hey, you're okay. I
It's
think that
like
was
the
a big,
power of love, right?
absolutely love.
Yeah.
That's the key.
So my mother had this aunt, and she showed up one day and she said, I'm moving up here from Georgia. She drove up, didn't tell anyone. Um, she moved in with my mom, then moved into her own apartment. And then at some point, she had a serious health episode, and they said, she's going to die in 2 weeks. So my mom's like, let's bring her home.
Mm-hmm.
7 years later, my mom moved her into an assisted living facility, and the doctor's like, we don't know why she got better, but we do know that love had a lot to do with it. You literally love this woman
Mm-hmm.
back into being. So I have a real respect for people who can just offer and give that love in that moment. And it sounds
Mm-hmm.
like that love was probably something people could feel from just being in your presence. And that's really powerful. The Heart of Herbs Herbal School podcast.
I mean, I think really, that love is really, I'd say probably 95% of the healing, you know?
Yeah, right.
Like when I make stuff for people, when I make a salve or a tea blend, I am putting so much love and thought into it when I do those things for people. A tincture, I think that's part of that vibration, that healing, if that makes any sense.
No, I actually love that. I think that often people will be like, well, why would I go get something from an herbalist? I can just get it off of Amazon or I can just buy it from this place. And yeah, there's truth in that, right? There's definitely
Mm-hmm.
truth in that. You can definitely go and do that. But I think that value for like effect and money and like all this kind of stuff with a more customized product, because they often don't cost anything more.
Mm-hmm.
It really makes a massive difference in the overall healing effect just by being able to tweak one thing for one person. And I think that people don't realize that because we've just gotten to such this consumer one size fits all, everything must be the same for everyone. And I think that just sharing with us that you are pouring love and intention and you get in the backing of the universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's
Yes.
really, really powerful in a medicine. I mean, there's so many studies that talk about love and energy and healing and all of this, but then we just forget about that and we just go buy the thing right off the shelf without the intention that's made, basically a lot of our drugs and stuff are made in sweatshops, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what is the intention and the healing and the feeling behind that? And so I love that you shared that you put that love out there because I think I agree. It's one of the most important parts of medicine. I didn't mean to interrupt you so
Oh,
much.
no. No, I'm glad you did. I really am. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's very important. It really is.
So tell us about, so you've told us a little bit about your journey, but what about specifically about your herbal journey? Because I love hearing what Art of Herbs like alumni are doing and what they're like. What are you bringing into the world now as I am an herbalist. Like I am no longer what people call me. I am
Mhm.
now I am claiming the mantle for myself.
So, you know what? There is so much power in that. It's like victory. It's like climbing the mountain. I don't know how to explain it, but it really coming into my own, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
That has
absolutely.
happened after, being in your school was amazing.
Oh, thank you.
I researched a lot of schools and I was like, I need a challenge. I need something that's going to challenge me. I need something that's really going to make me dive deep. And your school did. It was amazing. I never understood why we needed the Latin names. And
Hmm.
my sister would always tell me, Christy, you need those Latin names. No, I don't. I know what lavender is. I know what
Yeah, yeah.
calendula is. I don't need those names.
They
But
speak to me, okay? We're good.
right. That's why I always tell people I speak plant, you know. And anyway, my sister kept saying that, and I was just like, I don't understand. Well, going into your school, it gave me a whole new understanding of why it's important. Well, because there's like 21 different varieties of lavender and 50 of mint, and so on and so forth. And they all do have, scientific different kinds of chemical makeups, and for using for different applications. Like some are used for essential oils more than just medicinal. Some have
Hmm.
higher medicinal properties than others. So that was really cool learning that in your school. And it empowered me in what I do. So I am eternally grateful for that.
Oh, that's really sweet. But you did all the work.
Well,
So you made the commitment to do the work and to finish. Like, so I love that you love the program. That's awesome. But I mean,
mhm.
like, you've got to give yourself credit here because it's a big program.
It is.
You finished it. You killed it. So I mean, like, you need to be hugging yourself and drinking champagne or whatever you need to do, sit out under the stars with a beer, whatever. But you definitely have earned the praise, and I hope that you really have a lot of like respect for yourself for like, I mean, follow through is really rare. Lots of people, I mean, like I think 70% of college freshmen don't finish their freshman year or some like outrageous number like that, right? So
Hmm.
the fact that you like went and you finished, I think you should really give yourself a huge pat on the back.
I did, and my family did too.
How
It
cool.
it was an accomplishment. It really was. They were all very, very proud of me. And one of the things before my dad died, he died of cancer 4 years ago.
I'm
It'll be
really
5 years
sorry.
in September. Well, I'll tell you, there's a really cool story with that. But he he actually lived 18 years. When the doctor said he would be gone within a month, he lived 18 years.
Whoa.
And
Was
it
he
was
made out of kryptonite or not or whatever Superman's made out of? Kryptonite's I think
he
that gets
wanted to be
Superman. I don't
here. Part of it,
know.
he wanted to be here. He had that drive. I mean, and so I kind of think like if you want something bad enough, you're going to make it happen. And I wanted to finish this school. I wanted to have that certified clinical master herbalist. I wanted that. I had that fire in my soul to just get that done. I wanted it.
That's
And
awesome.
kind of like my dad, he wanted to be here.
So you come from a long line of go-getters.
Oh yeah, both sides,
That's
my mom and my
awesome.
dad.
Well, and it sounds like your grandma had a whole, like the one that you would go blackberry picking with, she had her whole agenda down too. So you
Oh
come from a
yes,
long line of herbal go-getters and, people who get the job done. I love that. I mean,
yeah,
farmers are like the hardest working people in the world. I mean, I just want to, literally start crying when I think about all that farmers do for, our country and for, you know, humankind and then, the support that they get. So I love farmers. I'm a huge farmer fan.
I do too. I shop at farmers markets, and anytime I can buy from a farmer, I'm going to buy from a farmer.
Yeah, I'm horrible. So, I mean, I'm so neurotic about like where my stuff comes from and I probably drive the people around me crazy, but I'm just like I want to know my pots and pans were made by someone in Ohio.
Yep.
Like I want to know to me that's like if my husband like walked in the door and he was like, "Hey baby, I got you these flowers and these daffodils are from down the road and these are from here." And the man could ask me for anything, right? I just love that kind of stuff. And then I thought, well, maybe I'm just crazy. But then my oldest son's like, yeah, check out these blue jeans. They're made in North Carolina and they're from cotton made in wherever. And I'm like, okay, so maybe I passed my crazy on a little bit, but I just, these are the people that build our nation and, you
Yeah.
know, so yeah, I get you. I'm a
You're
little goofy
speaking my
about it.
language.
Oh, good, good, because I do get goofy about it. Like really goofy.
I've driven people crazy around me for years. My
Oh, we
friends
need to
used to.
hang out and drive each other crazy. I get it.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's hysterical. It's so funny though. Like we forget, like people will be like, well, I'll just get my herbal whatever off of Amazon. And I'm like, do you know where it comes from? And they're like, why does that matter? And
Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
tell
it
people that all the time.
matters.
I'm like, okay, but it's not the same. And they're like,
No.
okay, Christy, tell me why it's not the same. I love my girlfriend. I mean, best friend, I love
Mhm.
her dearly. But she's like, no, I'm just going to get it off of Amazon. I'm like, okay, but hang on a second. What company is this? I'm like,
Yeah.
do you know where it's manufactured? Do you know where it's made? It's not all the same. Christy, I just need some cinnamon pills. Okay, but where's the
Do
cinnamon
you
coming
not
from?
know what my job is? I will send you some.
Yeah, I'm like, I'll just give you some. No, no, you got to quit giving people stuff because a lot of the stuff I do, I mean, I'm telling you, my husband has. That's one of the things from your school. Another thing I learned is that my time is worth something. I
Yeah.
can't just give it away for free all the time. Now, I do a lot. And I consider it tithing, giving back.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I do that too. But
Hmm.
here's how I do it. I'm like,
Okay,
the more money I make, the more I can give. So like this
absolutely.
year we want to make like $1,000 contribution to our volunteer fire department. Like and so I'm like, okay, that's one of the ways that we can give back. Like, so I always look at it that way, like the more you make, the more you can give. And
Hmm.
time is important, but remember, even if you're giving 5 hours a week to something, give yourself an hourly wage and say, this is also like, this is how much I'm donating by giving my time.
Hmm.
And then you'll start to say, okay, I can do this, this, and this, and make instead of time, that financial contribution, which can go further. Or I really love giving of my time, but and acknowledging to yourself, yeah, I normally make $30 an hour, so I'm giving them of something of value of $90. And like it really helps transform your whole like relationship with charging for your services and stuff because you'll respect yourself more. I think like that's like it's not like I don't respect myself based on how much money I make,
Right.
but what I do it is I say this has value and so I can say, okay, is this worth 10 hours of my time or is it easier for me to pay someone else to do it or whatever, right? And I
Hmm.
just think it's cool, but I do like I always say it's like tithing to the community.
Hmm.
Like I'm not necessarily going to tithe to one institution or another, but I am definitely going to give money to food pantry, things that I really believe in. And I
Absolutely.
love that. And I
Yeah.
love that your herbal work allows you to do that.
Yeah, I do charge for my services and for the things that I make. And even if it is somebody that is like low income, I'll say, listen, I will see you for this. Normally I would charge, $160 for like, the first initial visit and then like two follow-up 15-minute consultations after that just to see how you're doing. But I'm
Hmm.
going to give you that. And then, but if I make something where it costs me money, like my beeswax and you know what I'm saying, the herbs and things, I
Yeah.
will have them pay for like the formulation
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I feel like that's fair, you know.
Hmm.
Um, but that was another thing I really learned in your program is that I do have more to give back when I take care of myself. And
Yeah.
my
Right.
husband was always telling me, he was like, he goes, I want you to look at it like this. All this stuff, I know you have a big heart and I know you want to help everyone, but look
The,
at your
the
children.
trials of people married to big hearters, right?
Yes. I mean, and I know it's a struggle for him. I know it is, but we kind of help balance each other out,
Yeah.
which is good because I kind of need somebody to kind of bring me down sometimes. And he kind of
Well, you
needs somebody
just
to
you
bring him
you
up.
just sometimes are like want to save the world. I remember
Yeah.
when at one point I was reading about this lady who was protecting elephants and she was basically like a poacher and I was like that's what I want to be when I grow up and I'm like 40 years old. I'm like okay, slow your roll, girl. You don't even know how to use a gun, but you're ready to rumble. I'm like, so sometimes you need the world to be like slow down, or a
Yes.
partner, but it's the I decided early on that I was at some herbal stuff, and you may have heard me mention this before, and I was like, "Look, we need sustainable wages, like all this stuff." I was so young and naive and stupid, and I just figured everybody felt the same way about herbalism, like it should be, we should pay ourselves well and all this stuff. And I just remembered basically like the people after you're disgusting. I don't know, healing should be free. Everybody should work for free. And I was just like, free doesn't feed my kids. Like, and
Right.
I'd never been called like a disgusting human being before. It was really traumatic for me. And I kind of pulled away from some of those circles very early on because I did always feel like I'm putting so much into this. This is my job.
Mm-hmm.
So why does everyone else deserve to get paid for their work, but not me? Like,
Right.
I was
Right.
like, I couldn't understand it because I was so naive. I was so young. I was so naive. I was just like, I don't care about herbal politics. I don't care about all this other stuff. My kids are not going to be hungry on my watch. So,
Well,
you
and
know.
exactly. That's what my husband did. He set the kids down at the table and he grabbed me and he goes, I want you to look at their faces. Look at our table right now. He goes, when you give all this away, you're taking food out of their mouths. And when he did that, I was like, oh my goodness.
That's someone
Okay.
who really, really loves you because that's a hard
Yeah.
conversation to have. So for him to be like, yeah, that's pretty awesome. Like,
Yeah.
he
He,
definitely knew how to speak your language, right?
yeah, he
These are
did.
your babies, the ones that you'd flip a bus over and rip apart steel doors to get
Right.
to.
Right.
They need a
That
peanut
was
butter and jelly every now and then, too.
right. That was kind of like the turning point. And then, because I remembered the lessons in class, I
Hmm.
remembered those. And then I was just like, okay, this is real. It's like intellectually, I got it from your school, but
Yeah.
then he connected the emotion.
Yeah, that's the hardest part. Like whenever I'm mentoring students, like we have a mentorship program and I'm mentoring them with business, it's really interesting because that is really the hardest part of it for people is to make that their value is the same as the other people around them who work. And I'm like, no, it's this has nothing to do with whatever. This is you saying, I don't feel this way, I don't have value, or whatever. You're putting your own stuff on it that other people aren't even putting on you, right?
Yep.
And then they're like, oh, okay. And then they'll call me and be like, I just had my first $25,000 a month of selling products. And I'm like, I told you. They're like, yeah, I just thought you were crazy or whatever. I'm like, thanks. I'm like, man, people still talking to me like I'm nuts. But, and then because it is just because you help people, doesn't mean you have to not be able to feed your own kids. And I think
Mhm.
I'm glad that your husband was so smart. You can tell him he was super smart.
I, I will. I will. He's gonna love that. I'm gonna. He will love that you're saying this about him because we definitely challenge each other, and I think a challenge is good. Growth is not always easy.
No,
You know.
if it was, then we wouldn't be so messed up, right?
That's right. But you know what? It's beautiful though. It is
Yeah.
beautiful too because like when you come out the other side, it's I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. Just real rewarding.
Yeah. Well, even in the ugly and in the chaos and in the
Hmm.
pain and in the destruction, sometimes that has to occur for you to build your whatever your palace is or whatever your sweet spot
Yes.
is or wherever you feel like, everything that you need is there for you. And that's hard, epically hard work. You
Hmm.
know, um I, you know, I've gone to like and done some talking at like business seminars for women and stuff. And they're like, well, I'm just going to visualize things into being. And I'm like, sure, go for it. But you're going to have to work harder. This
Yes.
whole like, I visualize all the time. I got my dream board. I mean, I'm always talking to the universe or whatever and being like, this is what I'm trying to do and driving people around me crazy with my dreams and my goals. But I think the thing is that you speak things into being, but you also have to work your ass off. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's just got to be a marriage,
Yes.
like you
Right.
just got to be like, oh, and sometimes that means missing out on, you know, some of the stuff you're trying to build so you can build it to enjoy it one day, like sometimes you don't get to go out and sit out on every sunny day. You're
Hmm.
working and you're doing your stuff. So I think it sounds like you've got a nice balance getting ready to work to your advantage.
Well, I have worked very hard to prepare all this, and my husband's been very supporting. And I'm just now at the place, like I've been working in the garden, and I'm trying to be completely 100%. I'm working towards that, growing my own herbs,
Oh,
you
wow.
know, doing all that, so I don't have to buy them from a supplier, which I have been.
Nice.
And like I love mountain rose herbs. I do buy, things that
Hmm.
I can't get here locally growing in my area, and I will continue to do that for special things. And we've got a cool herb shop in Kansas City where, I can run in if I need something. I needed cat's claw for a arthritis tea,
Hmm.
and picked up some cat's claw and Oregon grape, and because I didn't have that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but I'm growing a lot here and trying to be sustainable. And I plan on hitting farmers markets next year. You know, um,
Nice.
Doing that this winter is going to be a very busy winter. But I've got a room downstairs that my husband helped me construct. I've had this little herb closet that I've had, and it's went with me through the years. But I've really
The
outgrown that.
relationships we keep, right? My herb closet comes with me, Baba.
Yeah.
Let's just get this straight.
And it has. It's been to I can't tell you how many homes, and sits right in the kitchen so that I have access to it. But my husband's like, we're going to clear this space out. This is yours. So we
Oh,
put shelves
wow.
down there, and I got all these big amber bottles. So I've got it's all getting set up, and it's just all coming together, and it's really beautiful. I remember 10 years ago, right now, this is where I wanted to be. This is the vision that I had. But like you said, it was hard work. And
Yeah.
there was probably 3 years where, I mean, my nose was in books. I was, turning in writing papers, maybe even 5 years total. Because before I went to your school, I also went to ITN. I did online ITN in California for nutrition
Wow.
coaching.
So you're just a powerhouse.
And then I was like, oh, I'm going to take a break. Well, no, I didn't. 2 weeks later, I enrolled in your school, you know,
Yeah,
and
I hear you. I'm always taking, I'm taking it. One of my kids is talking about maybe getting goats. So I was like, well, maybe I'll take a goat class so I can learn how to help my kid out. And yeah, I'm always taking classes for all these, everything. I'm just like, I'll take a class to help me figure that out.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
how I learn well. So I totally get it.
yeah.
Well, can you tell us about your business? Because I've been wanting to ask you about that. You kind of said,
Oh,
you're trying to
yes.
grow stuff, and I was just looking over your website. So tell everyone how to find you and the name of your company.
Okay. Well, my company's name is Fire Botanicals,
Awesome. I
and
love that. You're gonna burn it down.
well, fire is so healing and
Hmm.
warming, and and botanicals, because not everything I use I mean, it's just all over the board.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
um, it's www.firebotanicals.com.
Oh,
You
awesome.
can.
That's really easy to remember, people. Firebotanicals.com. But I mean, like, this isn't hard. Everyone can figure. So yeah, that's awesome.
And you can message me, you can call me. I do
Can
do
people
like a
find you on Facebook or any other like social media?
I do have Instagram and Facebook. I will tell you, I am so old school. I was the last person I know to get a smartphone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I do check that email daily.
Okay.
If you email me with questions, or if you want to set up like a 15-minute free consultation, if I think I can help you, I can set up a plan, whatever we need to do. Or if I think maybe you'd be better suited with someone else, I can direct you and guide you to someone else, you know, um,
Okay,
because,
can I interrupt you real quick?
yeah.
I love that. And I talk about it in the program, but I also talk about it all the time. if you are not the right person for someone, it doesn't mean you're a failure. It means that you're helping them find the right person. And so I always talk to people to have like a good referral list because you're not going to be able to help everyone. And I love that you said that, that you were like, and if we're
Absolutely.
not the right thing, I'm going to help you find the right thing. And I
Absolutely.
think that's like sometimes the biggest part of our job is being a resource. And so I love that you said that. I really appreciate that. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to get that out
No.
there. Like, I just think that's amazing.
I think what we do is a huge responsibility,
Yeah.
and part of that responsibility is knowing, you can't be everything or do everything. And that's
Oh,
why,
I don't want to either, right?
right. I had a meeting at it's a holistic dentist office, and the nurses and staff and the doctors were asking me, we have a lot of kids that have heart conditions, and would you be willing to treat them? And I sat there and I was like, it would have to be on case by case basis, you know?
Yeah.
And if I didn't feel comfortable, then I would not take them on as a client.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would refer them to somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I don't think that they liked that. Was kind of my feeling that they didn't like that answer, but it was like it was the
That's
truth.
the most responsible answer you could give. I mean, even a doctor,
Mm,
right, would be like, well, I don't know anything about this. I'm going to refer you to the person that does, right?
absolutely.
Or the
Yeah.
dentist would be like,
Yeah.
well, I'm not an orthodontist. Let me send you to an orthodontist.
Right.
That's too bad because they're missing out on something there.
And, it was just kind of my feeling based upon the reaction from that it was not, but I'm not comfortable, just taking anybody on. I want to make
Yeah.
sure that it's within my scope,
Hmm.
and it is a big responsibility. I mean, if something goes wrong, that's,
Well, do no harm, right?
absolutely.
We don't want to let our egos, dictate how we work with clients. We should be able to
Absolutely.
work with clients that we can actually really truly help.
Right.
And so I just have so much appreciation for you sharing that with us and just, sharing your lived experience because I think sometimes when we want to work, we want to help people and sometimes saying no is a skill we don't always have. And so saying no, I always say like learning to hear no and learning to say no are the things that are going to get you through business. If you can't say no
Hmm.
and you can't hear no, you're going to fail. You know, like so I love that you said your truth and whether or not they liked it, that's a them problem, not a you problem, right?
Hmm.
I love
And they
that.
they were also kind, and I mean, it would have been like the place like I would want to work, like I would feel good being in that environment because they're very much like-minded and everything.
Mhm.
But I just realized too from talking to them, and it was such a gift what they gave me, giving me their time.
Yeah.
It was such a gift that they gave me because I realized, you know, I think I'm going to do better and be able to serve and reach more people by just doing this on my own
Mhm.
instead of being in an office, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
And I realized, okay, that's my path. Thank you,
Yeah.
Lord. I was like, all
Yeah.
right,
Well, I think
this is where I need
sometimes,
to be.
we got to be smacked in the face with something, right?
I did. I
You're like,
did. I am totally that person. It's like, hey, I'm knocking on the door, Christy. Hey,
yeah.
hey.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna start throwing lightning bolts and I'm gonna club you over the head.
Yeah. Yeah. I think sometimes I'm like, hey, universe, it's okay to
Yeah.
like really hit me hard because sometimes I'm dumb.
You just need it.
I'm just like,
Sometimes you just need
I'm
it.
just tooling along, doing my thing, not always looking up to see
Uh-huh.
that, the signs the world are showing me, like, we joke that my husband lives in this world, but is not of this world because he just gets in his own little universe with stuff he's doing. And sometimes I'm worried that I'm going that way too. Like dun dun dun. But so tell us about your products because I love your logo. I think it's
Thank
great.
you.
I
Thank
love
you.
the name. So tell us about, it looks like you do a lot of custom formulations.
I do.
I
I
think
do.
that's incredible.
I like to do custom formulations because, everybody, like my son and I joke, I love ginger root, right? Ginger
Hmm.
root is my jam. But my son, it's like kryptonite to him. He
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
like, I can't take it, mom. It makes me sick. And I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, well, you really need it right now. Let me muscle test you. And then I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, okay, you don't need this, do
Yeah.
you? Because mom, I'm telling you, it's kryptonite to me. It makes me sick,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know? And I'm like, okay, well, let's do something else to work on this. Okay, let's do a little turmeric. Let's try this. And,
Yeah.
so everybody's kind of like, well, we're all the same. We are different.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
so I think that like doing those custom formulations for people is really important just to make sure what kind of resonates with them and what's going to really help them with their healing versus a one size fits all kind of package.
Yeah. No, I think that's really important that you are able to, give that kind of one-on-one connection with people who are even buying products. And it looks like from the website, they shoot you some information, you shoot them some information, and then, you can really work together
Mm-hmm.
in a more collaborative way that I think is missing in a lot of herbal product purchasing. We're like, oh, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
buy this for A, B, or C.
Mm-hmm.
But A, B, or C isn't just A, B, or C. It's like A with 55 branches coming off, and B has, this coming off of it, or also is
Right.
associated with this. And like, you can really, I feel, get a more custom
Mm-hmm.
product and approach from working with people this way. So I really think it's just great. I'm just really excited for you.
Thank
And I
you.
can't wait to like see everything that you're doing. So can I loosely put out there that I'd love to talk to you in like a year or 6 months and check
Absolutely.
in and like tell us where you're
Absolutely.
at with everything? Because I just think it's cool. I love the your salve in the picture looks so pretty. So just I'm on your website right now looking. I'm looking right now. I'm not lying. I looked before too. I was like, that's awesome. And everyone should go like fire underscore botanical underscore herbs on Instagram. Go and follow because I think that Instagram's a great way for people to just really kind of keep an eye on things that they like and admire.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have to interact with us, they can just kind of
Mm-hmm.
be there. And so I definitely think people should check you out and see everything that you're offering because it's beautiful.
And this year is the year where I am going to be putting more into the technical side of things, the Instagram, the social media. I cannot even tell you for 10 years, best friend, Christy, you got to do some reels. You got to get on TikTok. Christy, you got to do this. Christy, come on. And my kids even, they're like,
Yeah.
Mom, I'll post stuff. My daughter actually started that
Oh,
Instagram.
good. Yeah, outsource it if at all possible, right? No. Um, I'm not a huge, I know I'm all over social media, but I batch and plan things because I don't do a lot of stuff where people are like, we want to see the inside of your life. And I'm like, no, you actually really don't. Like, I'm
That's private.
so boring. Well, it's not even that. I'm just so boring. Like, what do you want to see me do? Write an article? Or people are like,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm like, no, I'm not comfortable with that. So, and I know that affects me because I'm not willing to go out there like that. I'm not willing to, but I feel like we have a responsibility to ourselves to keep our hearts protected
Hmm.
and find our own way to be on social media in a way that's comfortable because honestly, I always joke like the second that I retire, like I'm disconnecting from everything and getting a flip phone or a landline because I've been working online since I was 22 years old.
Wow.
So in the 90s. So I can understand that hesitation. I think it can be a really beautiful space,
Hmm.
but I think there's more space out there than just, was that Reba McEntire sign? Is there life out there?
I wonder sometimes
Besides the
because
internet, there's life,
I wonder. I
Yeah.
wonder because everybody's on it, and and I'm like, I really like to connect with people. I like to talk with you. I like to, see your face. I mean, anybody can say anything behind a computer.
Yeah, and I think that's getting to be like an old form of communication where people are getting tired of it. They're like, that's old. I don't want to deal with that anymore. Like, I want some real connection. And I think that
Bring it on.
you offer that with your business. They can truly connect with you. It's still in an online space because it's with email and phone calls, and it's
Hmm.
still not always going to be face to face, but
Right.
there is that human element. And sometimes we just have students who will just be like, I just need to call. I'll be like, yeah, how much time you need? 10 minutes or 15 minutes or, oh, this is
Hmm.
going to be a big one. And sometimes it's just about making connection because we live in a very disconnected world. So I get it. That's all I'm trying to say here in my long roundabout verbal diarrhea way. I get it. I get the hesitation and I
Yeah.
understand.
But this year I'm pushing through it. I
You're
may
gonna
even
do
do some
it.
videos.
Oh,
Ah!
that's awesome. Definitely. I mean, I I think it's gonna be great. I think people are gonna love more and more people are gonna love what you do and reach out to you because I'm not seeing a lot of places where people can get that personal touch
Hmm.
with their business and you're giving it. So check it out, people. If you're listening, my scores of my 8 listeners. Just teasing. But it's cool for people to have that kind of connection. So, is there anything you want to share with us before we let you get back to your life about anything you're doing or give us a beautiful sales pitch? Tell people how to find you again. Anything you
Well,
want. You
you
can
can
dance on a table
find
if
me
you want.
find me on the website www.firebotanicals.com. I am always here to answer any questions. A 15-minute free consultation to see if you and I are going to work together. If we'll work and I can help you out. I'll do whatever I can. I think we've already covered. I do a lot of custom formulas and teas, tinctures,
Awesome.
salves.
Yeah, your salves look really pretty.
They're good. I will say that they are good. Um, it's funny. I always have people come back like they'll try it and they're like, I don't know about this, and then they'll try it. One of the farmers, I gave one to her one day. I said it's like Neosporin, but better. If you're bleeding, it'll stop the bleeding. If you got a bruise, it'll heal it in 2 to 3 days. And her son got a rusted nail in his foot, and she came back and she goes, "Oh my goodness. I just wanted to tell you your salve did exactly what you said it was going to do. I thought I was going
Oh,
to have to take him to get stitches, but
oh
it stopped bleeding.
wow.
It healed. It didn't get infected." I said, "Well, yeah." And I'm kind of looking at her like, "Okay."
Yeah.
I told you. And she goes, "Well, I didn't believe you."
Oh, I know. Isn't that always funny? But she will be your biggest advocate, probably to everyone she speaks to. I had a mechanic once that I was like, I don't know how he ended up with some of my lavender salve. And he calls me and he's like, I need some more of this, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to put it in the shop. And we all decided that it's okay for us to smell like lavender old ladies. This stuff's great for our hands. And
Yeah.
it was like 20 years ago. And so he would always like, whenever I'd see him anywhere, he'd joke and be like, this is why we smell good in the shop. And it's just funny. But I mean, like, I'm not kidding you. He probably sent me 50 customers just
Wow.
being like, and he put some on the shop counter. I mean, because his hands would always crack and were sore, and there's probably other things going on, but that salve gave him what he needed And it was
Mm-hmm.
just always so funny to me because he wanted nothing to do with herbalism. He didn't want any of the other stuff. Just give me the salve and move on, lady. But he
Mm-hmm.
told everyone. It was just, I was like, I could have put him in a t-shirt and put him on a billboard. I mean, you just brought, and so it was, you never know where your people are,
Right. Right. Well, you really don't. I've met a lot of people in just different ways that I just never would have. I mean, we probably never would have gotten connected had I not been doing this.
Yeah, isn't this
Just.
work great?
Mm-hmm.
It
So.
really is. I love all the I love I love how it's opened the world to me. I can be anywhere in the world and go to an herb market, and because I know the Latin names, we can
Mm-hmm.
communicate.
That is cool. That is
In
one thing.
Egypt and
Yes.
Turkey and Switzerland and, Germany, like just all these different places we've been, but we can connect on that. And then even if we don't speak the same language, we can start to figure out what each other's saying
Mm-hmm.
because we speak the language of plants. And I think that's, the language of plants is much bigger, I think, than we are, than our
Oh yeah.
limitations, right? So,
Yeah.
well, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. And I definitely am planning on checking back in with you and seeing how everything's doing if you're still interested when I reach out later. But I'm just really excited. I love the way your business looks, and I wish you all the luck in the world. And I really appreciate your time today.
Well, thanks for having me. I've enjoyed being on here with you. So I've enjoyed it.
Oh, well, thank you so much. You have a wonderful day. And everyone, thanks for listening. This is the Heart of Herbs Herbal School podcast. See, I do know our name. And I hope that you have a wonderful day. Thank you. Interested in learning more? Visit heartofherbs.com and enroll using coupon code podcast to save 20%. The content provided in this podcast is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or medical condition. It's always recommended to consult a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your diet, lifestyle, or health regime, especially if you have an existing health condition. Any of the financial information and advice for starting or maintaining an herbal business is just that, information. It's not used to be a guideline on how you should run your business. Contact the appropriate professionals to help you to have a successful business.